Okay, let's talk about some data types in Python. So we are going to focus mainly on 3 data types: integers, Boolean, and string. And so integers are just whole numbers with no decimal places. So they can be positive or negative or 0. So -10, 103, 0. If you said 2.0, even though that looks like an integer, because you put that decimal point in there, Python's not going to count it as an integer data type. So make sure you don't put any decimal points in there. They're just whole numbers with no decimal places. Boolean is a data type that only has 2 values. The 2 values Boolean can take are true and false. These are the only 2 values you can get when you deal with a Boolean. So we use Booleans a lot when we compare 2 things, and then we'll get the output as a Boolean data type. And if the comparison is true, we would say the output is true. If the comparison is false, we say the output is false. So Boolean is used often when we're going to tell a program when to run. So the last one is a string, and these are just bunches of characters. And the characters can be anything. They can be letters, they can be numbers, they can be punctuation, it can be white space. When we talk about a string, they're always enclosed by single or double quotes. And that's something important to keep in mind, because we can take things that look like integers or Booleans, and if we enclose them in single or double quotes, they become strings. So for instance, I could put this string together, hello. So that's just a string of letters with a punctuation enclosed. If I put this single quotes with 5, that is no longer an integer. That is now a string because I put those quotes around it. Same thing with this. If I put double quotes, true, again, no longer an integer, now it's a string because I put those double quotes around it. So these are the 3 main data types we're going to talk about. There are other data types in Python, but we're not going to use them in this course. So then let's talk about a variable. So a variable is just sort of like a virtual box that holds a value. One thing you want to remember about a variable is that it needs a name and a current value. We use the single equals to assign its value. It doesn't remember previous values. So if we give a variable a value, like we say a is 1, and then later we say a is 2, it's going to forget that a was ever 1. It's not going to keep that in its memory at all. When you're naming variables, the names can't have any spaces in them. But you can use letters, you can use numbers, you can use capitals, you can use lowercase. If you were tempted to put a space, you could use an underscore. Okay, so I want to show you Python Tutor, which is where we're going to do a lot of our Python practicing. So this is a piece from our textbook, and this is one of the examples. It says basic variables and data types. And what I want you to see is that this is in Python Tutor. So you can see that this says that the value of a is 4, and that hashtag there means a comment, so a stars 4. And if you think about what kind of data type a is, that's an int. The value of b is this string, hello world. The value of c is false, and the value of p1 points is 1337. If you click this next button, it makes a box. So it evaluated line 1, it made a box and told us that a was 4. Now it made a box and it's keeping in there b as hello world. And now it has another box, c is false, that's the Boolean type. 4th box, p1 is points. If you wanted to change something about this, you can click the Edit in Python Tutor button over on the bottom right, and it opens this up in Python Tutor. So what I could do is I have this here now. Maybe I wanted to change C to true. So I could rewrite C as true. And then I click visualize, and we can see it looks just like it did in the textbook, but now for variable C, it puts in a true. So when you have a program that you're trying to see what happens with, put it in Python Tutor and see how it looks.